My name is Phil Jones. I was a Scientologist for almost 40 years. Now I'm an ex-Scientologist and have been for over 10 years. And during that last 10 years, we've been doing some protesting. And one thing I wanted to cover today was what happens when you get a cease and desist letter from a Scientology attorney when you're protesting, or because you're protesting and being an activist against exposing Scientology for its abuses. So back in 2016, when Willie and I lived in Las Vegas, we would go to Los Angeles every month, pretty much, to protest around Celebrity Center and to try to see our son. We'd also go to Author Services to try to see our daughter. But this one trip, we were putting up some missing posters for our son Mike. We had done, as we covered in a previous video, we did a welfare check with the LAPD, and you know, just trying to get in touch with our son. And you know, on that trip, we had spent just under a week there, and we were kind of a little beat, exhausted. Came back home, and what was waiting for us was a cease and desist letter from one of Scientology's main attorneys, Bert Dexler. Now, he's one of their highest paid attorneys, so I don't know, thousands of dollars an hour this guy gets. So I don't know how much it costs Scientology to pay for this cease and desist letter, but there it was. So a couple of interesting points on it. I mean, they cover some of the stuff we did, the way they sort of couch it a little bit in different terms than I would, but basically it says, let me summarize, this is quote, let me summarize some of the misconduct you and your conspirators have engaged in with the goal of enriching yourselves at the price of humiliating Mr. Jones, our son Mike. First, you have created, disseminated, and posted handbills with Mr. Jones' name and likeness without permission and with the legend "Missing" emblazoned. The handbills were delivered and posted in and around where Mr. Jones provides his religious services and resides. When delivered, you and every single one of your co-conspirators fully knew that Mr. Jones was not missing, in quotation marks. You and every single one of your co-conspirators knew that Mr. Jones was resident at a facility operated by Church of Scientology and was engaged in his services as a minister of that church. Now, Mike is not a minister. He's never done the minister's course. He doesn't audit people. He doesn't do weddings. He is responsible for setting up the events, scaffolding, sound, and lighting, and things like that. So that they're calling him a minister is they're just trying to make it sound like we're attacking they want to sound a little bit more religious, which is somewhat difficult for Scientology to do. What was missing is any sense of respect for his religion and his freedom to choose the path he wished for his life. You should be ashamed, but that's not all. Yes, they ended this paragraph with, but that's not all. So that was the part, I guess, from when we were doing the those missing posters, and we had plastered them all around Celebrity Center. And to us, Mike was missing. We hadn't heard from him or seen him in 2 years. They're saying we knew he was there, but we didn't know he was there. We thought, well, maybe they sent him off to Australia or something. We had no idea what was happening with our son. No word. We had nothing. No contact at all. So we just continued. And so the next thing they wanted to cover here is, not only did you seek to invade Mr. Jones' privacy and hold him in a false light for the amusement of a television audience. We were doing a TV show at the time that was basically documenting our disconnection journey. And the show never aired, unfortunately, but we had this whole television crew following us around at the time. And for your private financial enrichment, we made no money on this. We weren't being paid by the TV show, and it actually cost us money, time off work. I mean, every time we went down there, and anyway, no financial enrichment involved. But you and your co-conspirators doubled down on your lie and made a false police report that Mr. Jones was missing and or held against his will, and that locating him was a police emergency. This was, again, what I was saying about the welfare check that we had done. We did a previous video on that. This lie, intended to generate police activity to generate footage for a television show, we were just trying to contact our kids, of course, violates the California Penal Code. I don't think so. You should be ashamed, but that's not all. Yes, they ended this one with, but that's not all. Based on the false report, the Los Angeles Police Department officer believed it best to have Mr. Jones call his parents. Imagine a 42-year-old man forced to call his mommy and daddy for the amusement of a television audience so that you and your conspirators could make money. This waste of taxpayers' money and police officers' time, of course, led to prompt conclusion that you and your conspirators had made a factually baseless report. You should be ashamed, but that's not all. Yes, they did, but that's not all. And then the last section, this is an interesting one too. This last bit, not content with merely lying to the police, after lying to the friends, peers, and passers-by near the Church of Scientology, once again, you and your co-conspirators upped the ante with the goal of humiliating Mr. Jones. This time, it was a false report to the state of California Adult Protective Services that Mr. Jones was being held against his will and that he was injured. This lie to a government agency in itself is another crime. So here's the interesting thing about that. When we were at the LAPD Hollywood Division asking for a welfare check, we were standing at the desk, the counter at the front there, speaking to the person behind the desk, the officer. And I had a couple of friends with us, just for kind of moral support. One of them actually was with the TV show. We didn't have the cameras inside, but we were there. Anyway, one of our friends mentioned this thing about maybe after this we could check with California or the Adult Protective Services. One sentence, that's all. We never pursued it. We never talked to them. We never reported to the Adult Protective Services. So how this got into Bert Dexler's letter is somebody in the LAPD heard us talking about it, literally one sentence, and reported that to Scientology, and that report, they assumed that not only were we talking about it, but that we did it, that we had gone to the Adult Protective Services. So it just shows a couple of things. One is that how tight the LAPD, at least then, was, or that person, that officer was in with Scientology, to have reported that to them. They must have reported everything we said. And then for that to get to Bert Dexler, the attorney, to have him put it in this cease and desist letter. So it was really interesting that that was put in there, because it never happened. And Scientology just assumed that since we were talking about it, because we were doing everything else, that we were going to do that as well. And they finish off, Bert Dexler finishes off this letter with, please confirm no later than 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on February 2nd, 2016, that you and your conspirators will cease and desist from your lawless behavior. Sincerely, Bert Dexler. So that's our cease and desist letter. So we had just gotten back from a week in LA. We were exhausted, and we hadn't planned to go back to LA for maybe 3 or 4 weeks at least. But as soon as we got that letter to cease and desist, I turned to Willie and I said, okay, let's get back in the car. We're going back to LA. And if they're going to tell us to cease and desist, we're going straight back out there, because there's no way that I'm going to stop for some attorney telling us to stop. They can't do any worse to us than taking our kids. So, you know, bring it on. It doesn't matter. We're going to keep at it. We're fighting for our kids, and that's where we're at. And that's what we're going to continue to do. Anyway, thanks for watching.